Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna once again. So let me just share the verses.
Prabhu, if you want, Rohini Mataji can share, if it's okay with you.
Yeah, that's okay. If she wants to do that, that will be nice.
Thank you, Rohini Mataji.
The next one, yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Just take it a little lower. Yeah, that should be. So the first verse I'll just read. Tatho varnascha chatvaras tesham brahmana uttamaha brahmaneshva api vedhagnyo hai arthognya abhyadikas tataha. So the translation, or Mataji, 1 minute. If somebody wants to read the verse, then the translation, so we can go like that.
Anusuya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Pranams.
Then it's pranams.
Tato varnasya chatvaras tesham brahmana uttamaha brahmaneshvapi vedagyo yatagyo bhyadikastataha. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Savika Mataji.
Hare Krishna, translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Among human beings, the society which is divided according to quality and work is best. And in that society, the intelligent men who are designated as Brahmanas are best. Among the Brahmanas, one who has studied the Vedas is the best. And among the Brahmanas who have studied the Vedas, one who knows the actual purport of the Veda is the best. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Go to the next verse. We'll do all the verses in one go.
Sudha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandat pranams. Artajñat samshaya cheta tata shreyan swakarma krit mukta sangastato bhuyan adogda dharma matmanaha. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Mataji, read the translation as well. Sudha Mataji.
Okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Better than the Brahmana who knows the purpose of the Vedas is he who can dissipate all doubts, and better than him is one who strictly follows the Brahminical principles. Better than him is one who is liberated from all material contamination, and better than him is a pure devotee who executes devotional service without expectation of reward. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Vishbhanu Mataji. Read the verse and translation, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. 33, na? Tasman mayarpita shesha kriyarthatma nirantaraha mayarpitatmana punto mayi sanyasta karmanaha na pashyami param bhutam akartu samadarshanath. Translation by Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Therefore, I do not find a greater person than he who has no interest outside of mine, and who therefore engages and dedicates all his activities and all his life, everything unto me without cessation. Hare Krishna.
Sharmila Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Manasaitani bhutani pranamed bahumanayan Ishvaro jiva kalaya pravishto bhagavaniti. Should I read the translation, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Yeah. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Such a perfect devotee offers respects to every living entity because he is under the firm conviction that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has entered the body of every living entity as a super soul or controller. Thank you, Mataji.
Mataji, read. Padma Mataji will read the next one.
35, Mataji? Text 35?
Yeah, yes, Mataji.
Yeah. Bhakti yogascha maya manavi udirita yayo ekatarenaiva purusha purusham vrijet. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear mother, O daughter of Manu, a devotee who applies the science of devotional service and mystic yoga in this way can achieve the abode of the Supreme Person simply by that devotional service. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Thank you all so much. So Mataji, if we can go to 31.
No, mast sakhe. Bhagwan khava.
So we can just- Hare Krishna. So I'll request devotees to go on mute in case if you have to make some side conversations, that thereby it will not disturb the others. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Giram Yatpadam Aham Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Paramanandha Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So before we get started, just seeking the blessings of all the Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis who are here. So kindly bless me so that I'll be able to do some justice to these wonderful verses. To the Guru Parampara, for the pleasure of the Lordships, and for my own purification. Hare Krishna. So verse 31 goes like this: Tatho varnascha chatvaras tesham brahmana uttamaha brahmaneshva api vedhagnyo hayartogno abhyadikas tataha. So this, what does that mean actually? So it says that among human beings, the society which is divided according to quality and work is best. And in that society, the intelligent men who are designated as Brahmanas are best. Among the Brahmanas, one who has studied the Vedas is best. And among the Brahmanas who have studied the Vedas, one who knows the actual purport of the Vedas is the best. Hare Krishna. So just a quick background, I'll not take much time on that. See, if we are actually now this conversation between Lord Kapila and his mother, Devahuti. So where actually Lord Kapila, the son, he is explaining devotional service. So the chapter, the 29th chapter, the title, as you all know, is Explanation of Devotional Service by Lord Kapila. So Lord Kapila actually describes devotional service. He talks about devotional service, the different types of devotional services that are there. He talks about devotional service in the mode of goodness. Then he talks about the same in the mode of passion and in the mode of ignorance. So these are the verses that we saw in the initial, at the start of this chapter. So then he concludes that these are all adulterated. So then Lord Kapila goes on to speak about the unadulterated devotional service. Not the Mishra Bhakti. Mishra Bhakti, we all know, is adulterated. But he's talking about the Shuddha Bhakti. Now, Lord Kapila also goes on to say that such a practitioner, he never wants anything material, that is. So his mind is always attracted to hearing the names of the Lord, and then the qualities, thinking about the Lord's qualities, the form, and all that. So such a pure devotee does not want anything, even including liberation. So we know there are these various types of liberation. So he doesn't want any of these. So that also is there in the previous verses. You would have seen them. So this is about bhakti beyond mukti. Then he goes on to say how we can overcome the influence of the three modes of material nature. So he says, see, this is again Sankhya philosophy also coming in here, where he talks about the three modes of material nature and how every living entity who is having his or her birth in the material world is influenced by the three modes of material nature to whatever degree. I mean, it could be in Sattvagun, Rajogun, Tamogun, a combination, whatever it is. So we know these things. Now, unless one overcomes these three modes, it is not possible for us to go into transcendental realm or to stay in the transcendental realm, like how the Lord is always in the transcendental realm. See, because the Lord is actually nirguna, so that means he is not having these three gunas. In one explanation, it says he is gunatita, that means he is beyond the gunas. He is above these three gunas. So that is what is expected of us as living entities, as souls, that we'll have to come out of this phase of being influenced by the gunas, you know. So that's the whole journey that we are all talking about. And then Lord Kapila says that you continue to execute the prescribed duties without material profit, without violence, and then perform devotional activities. So devotional activities are having the potency to lift us out of this material contamination. So that's the whole point. And then he says how we should, what is the mindset, in what way we should project ourselves when we are doing devotional service, is that we should not be envious of anyone. And then we should be friendly to all. And then how to be non-envious and friendly to all? So we just celebrated, I mean, I saw some messages, Friendship Day was celebrated. So we saw photos of Krishna and Sudama being circulated among devotees, which is very nice. And then wishing everyone happy Friendship Day. So being a friend to all, like how the Lord is a friend to all. So in the same way, the Atma or the Jiva Tattva also needs to be a friend to all. And we'll have to cultivate that when we are in this material body. And that is the challenge. Because being in the material body, we are influenced by all material contaminations. Then he goes on to say that you see the Supreme Personality of Godhead in other individuals, and then see them as your own, like they're also like me, because the Paramatma is dwelling in them. So this ability or this good fortune to see the individual, see the soul or the super soul in another individual is what this learning is all about. And just not the knowledge, but then realizing it. When we realize the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in other people, in the bodies of other living entities, then it is possible for us to overcome these influences, overcome the one-upmanship, overcome the envy, and then be friendly, or at least, that is why they say, if you are not friendly, at least be neutral, don't be negative. So being negative, then coming on to the neutral platform, and then from there moving on to become a friend. So that's the path that is there for us. That is why they say, so be neutral, or samadharshi, brahmabhuta prasanatma, na sochati, na kankshati. So where he is happy within himself, and then he sees, what's that? The dog eater, and everybody as one. Sunicheva swapakena pandita samadarshina. So the Samadarshi attitude, the view is what is being glorified in the previous verses. So when we do that, then what happens? It pleases the Lord, and then the attraction to the holy name, the qualities of the Lord happen. So realizing the presence of the Lord in others, that is in other living entity, is very important to obtain the mercy of the Lord, because it pleases the Lord. So when the Lord is pleased by that, then his mercy begins to flow. So then the rest is history. So then we will get the ruchi, the nama ruchi, all of that will happen because of the mercy which is beginning to flow. So we'll stop off this mercy flow the moment we act as if there is no supreme personality Godhead in other person. That means like we behave in a irresponsible way with the other person. So now, how do we reach this point? He says one does worship of the Lord, the deity worship, to realize the presence of God. In me, that is in my own self, as well as in other people. So for that to happen, you will have to do devotional service. And then he says, dear mother, even if one worships with proper rituals, a person who is ignorant of my presence in all living entities never pleases me by the worship of my deities. So even if a person is doing the sadhana bhakti, then the worship of deities, but he is not having this realization or the consciousness of the presence of the Supreme Personality in other people, then the Lord is not pleased by such an individual. So this is, who's this individual where we don't, the person only is worried about the deities and nothing else. That is a Kanishtadhikari. So we know by definition. So a Kanishtadhikari does not recognize other devotees or other entities as part and parcel of the Lord. For him, it is only me and then the Vigraha, and that's it. So that is in the initial stage, but then that's not the proper understanding. And here the Lord is saying that such people, I am not pleased by them. Then Lord Kapila says living entities are superior to dull matter. So he moves on and then talks about the various gradations that are there. So among living entities, he concludes, by the time we come to the 30th verse, he concludes saying that, what does he say? He says that the human form is superior among all the living forms or the living entities, be it plant, animal, insect, all of that. Among all of that, the topmost superior form is the human form. So we know, human form is the superior form, so we are aware of that. They say like Manushya Janma is very Shreshta. So why it is Shreshta? Because devotional service is possible only here. Now from verse 31 on, we are moving further on. Lord Kapil Dev is talking about how among human beings, what is better or what is best. So he starts off in this verse 31, by saying that the society, because we know human beings, we all live in a society. So he says that society which is divided according to work as per the quality of the individuals in that society, such a society is best. So now this is not rocket science for practicing devotees. So what are we talking about? We are talking about a society which has varnas and ashramas. So the varnashrama system, whichever society has the varnashrama system, that is the best society. Now, within such a society, where there is a division of work, the people who are designated, or the living entities who are designated as Brahmanas, or the intelligent class of people who are giving advice, because we know the four Varnas, so Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. So in that, the people who are designated as Brahmanas are the best. So among humans, the society which is following Varnashrama is the best society, and within that society, the Brahmanas or the intelligent class is considered the best. So this is how we can see step by step how Lord Kapila is explaining which is better, or the hierarchy is being explained. Actually, these verses are so wonderful. If we are able to get a comprehensive view of what is being told by Lord Kapila, especially at least in these verses, even if we are not able to remember the ones where sense of smell is better, sense of form is better, it looks a little abstract for us. But anyway, finally the conclusion was that the human form is the best form among all the living entities. So a soul which is occupying the human form, that's at its best. And then from there, then the society which is taking care of its people by way of Varna and Ashrama is the best we are seeing. And within that, the Brahmanas are the best. Now it doesn't stop there. It goes on to say, among the Brahmanas, the one who knows the Vedas, or rather who has studied the Vedas. So he doesn't even go about knowing the Vedas. He's talking about one who has studied the Vedas is better. So there could be Brahmanas who are not doing Vedic studies. They're not trying to understand. They're not studying. So they are at a lower level compared to the ones who are actually studying the Vedas or who have studied it. And then the next step is even more interesting, where he says it is not just studying of the Vedas. Like studying of the Vedas is about quoting from memory. So there are people who will quote like okay, we will take the Bhagavad Gita itself. I'm not even talking about the Vedas. I'm talking about the summation of the Vedas, which is the Bhagavad Gita. So that itself, people try to learn or mug up all the verses, and then they'll be able to recite it from front to back, back to front, and all of that. So they'll be very proficient in that. That needs certain amount of proficiency. It is not being ridiculed or anything. Because a Brahmana who doesn't know and then a Brahmana who knows, there is a difference. So in that way, there is one more step that is included there, a person who is studying the Vedas or who has studied the Vedas. And then after studying, then understanding comes in. So we know that. I mean, this is not hard for us to get it. So the person who actually knows what is the purpose of the Vedas, he is higher. So there are these two interesting words in the shloka. One is called as Vedagnya. So one who knows the Vedas, Vedagnya, and then Arthagnya, one who understands the meaning or the purpose of the Vedas. So the Vedagnya is at a lower position than Arthagnya. So in this way, Kapila Muni or Lord Kapila is talking about the various levels of the gradations that are there, which we need to understand. Now, there are many people, because why this is there? Because in one of the lectures I was listening, how people study Vedas. Okay, they want to study the Vedas, so they study it in a very nice way. But the purpose of studying the Vedas is different. The purpose is not to know the Lord, but then it is to ridicule a particular religion or to find faults or to use it for one's own sense gratification. In fact, I think you might recall there is this one story, a small story in the Ramayana, where a particular individual was reading the Vedas, and then he immediately, Lord Ram actually cut off his head, not because he was reading the Vedas, but because he was reading the Vedas with the purpose of some other ulterior motive he had. He just wanted to, I think probably he wanted to get Durga Devi or something like that, something very horrible like that. With that intention in mind, he was trying to master the Vedas. So the whole purpose is defeated there. He is not getting to the Arthagnya stage. He wanted to be a Vedagnya with the Anarthagnya, which means that he wanted to achieve something else. And then he didn't have any realization of what is the actual purpose of the Vedas. So naturally, the person who understands the purpose of the Vedas is at a higher position. Even in Bhagavad Gita, if you see, there are these shlokas in the second chapter itself, you might recall. What does Krishna say there? He says, Traigunya Vishayo Veda Nish Traigunya Bhavarjuna. So he says, the Vedas mostly have this Traigunya Vishaya, the three gunas and then the Vishayas, or the everything connected to the three gunas is there. So, but then you will have to raise yourself above these three. Nish Traigunya Bhavarjuna. So he's telling Arjuna, you will have to raise above this. And how do we raise above that? That again, if you look at 15.15, there very clearly he is saying, what was that? Sarvasya chaham vidhi sannivishto matasmritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaisya sarvair ahameva vedyo vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. So he says that I am the end of all Vedas. The purpose of Vedas is to know me, Krishna, as the Supreme Personality of God. So very clearly in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is talking about these aspects again, like how Lord Kapila is talking about it. But here he is talking about it in various ways so that we can understand and realize. And also at the same time, look at all the other living entities with that view. with the view that they are in a certain stage because of the contamination. But having said that, there still exists the Supreme Soul in each one of them. So, Pandita Samadarshina, that is Brahmabhuta, like Prasannatma, na sochati na kamshati, Sunicheva Swapakena Pandita Samadarshina. So we will have to practice this Pandita Samadarshina stage until we reach the point where it becomes second nature to us. We always see an individual and then we think of the Supreme Lord in that person. Then what happens is our envy to that person comes down. Even let's say we don't like somebody. I mean, all of us, we might have some likes and dislikes. So we might have somebody whom we detest. Let's say, I mean, you all can think of that individual. And now just think that there is Paramatma in that individual also. And so now let me respect that Paramatma who's there inside. So there is an Atma and a Paramatma. But the way he behaves is basically because of the contamination. Or the way he behaved with me was because he was actually an instrument of my karma. So it's not his fault. So then to a great extent, that hatred or the envy or that thing which we experience, the emotion is coming down. And then if we keep on dwelling on that and then beg for the mercy of the Lord, then we'll realize that the intensity of that emotion keeps coming down, and thereby the envy is coming lesser and lesser, anger is becoming lesser and lesser, and then you actually begin to feel sorry for that person, or we will say he is also like me only. Okay, it happened. That's all right. So, like I would have been in a similar situation for someone else, they must be detesting me because of the things that I have done unknowingly to them. So, in the same way he did it to me, so that's all right. But we are all in the same boat, so let's clear this material world and move on. So, this is mature understanding, and this is the understanding that pleases Lord Kapila. That's what he is saying here. The presence of me in others, and then see me as part of them, and then continue to do the devotional service. Now, how do we get to this point? This point we get not by contemplation or logical thinking or anything like that, because we are too contaminated to think logically and correctly in this way. So the only way we can get there is by doing devotional service. So the end state and the path is the same. So the end state is pure devotional service. To reach there, we will have to do devotional service, or we'll have to try to do pure devotional service. Thereby the contaminations go away. So this is a trick that many of them will fail to understand. Of course, other than people who are say in ISKCON or are connected to Vaishnava Sampradayas, any bona fide Sampradaya, they will be able to understand this very easily. But otherwise, an outsider, it is very difficult for them to come to terms with this kind of a confusing thing. So if I have to become a pure devotee, then or I have to do devotional service in a pure way, then I'll have to practice devotional service. So that's one thing that many of them miss. So in this way we can understand. Like I was saying before, that they try to Vedagnya or Arthagnya or Vedagnya. So they will try to demean things. Or somebody who has understood or who has studied the Vedas but doesn't know the purpose of the Vedas, they could be anywhere. They could be in a dham, they could be holding a very powerful position, they could be teachers. So actually, I was listening to the lecture by His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, and Bhakti Vikas Maharaj actually takes one example, which I'll quote here. He was saying that he was in Bet Dwaraka. Bet Dwaraka is that island, most of you might have gone there, which is off the main Dwaraka, mainland Dwaraka. So it's that island where the various pastimes of the Lord are there. So there's Rukmini, Mata temple, then Krishna's temple, everything is there, Dwarkadish. So there he saw a Vipra or a Pandita, a Brahmana, who's teaching Vedas to all the children and all that. So he was very happy to see that. And then they were all doing their activity there somewhere nearby. And Maharaj was also happy to note that. Then later on, it was quite natural that you strike a conversation with such individuals. So you become very happy and then you say Hare Krishna. So Maharaj also did the same thing. And in the course of conversation, that Vipra, that Pandita who was actually teaching the children and all of that, and holding a position there, he was respected by everybody nearby, in and around. He was coming up with a view when they were talking. he was saying, yeah, you know this place, Krishna, there is a place nearby Pravasa where Krishna actually died. And then he says, I mean, we know that pastime where Krishna's disappearance happened in the Pravasa Kshetra. So he refers to that. Then he says, but do you know why Krishna had to die? That was because as Ram, he shot Vali and he killed him. So he has to be punished for that sin. And because of that, he was killed now in this way. And that place is there. I mean, this was like horrible to hear. So suddenly Maharaj realized that this person is a Vedagnya, but he is not an Arthagnya because he doesn't understand the purpose of Vedas, or he has not understood Lord and how the Lord is beyond Punya, beyond Karma, beyond the material influences. So he is not understood at all. So he was saying that was a very horrible thought to have, and then continue with the Vedas and all that. I mean, not that it is demoniac. Maharaj concluded. So like this, we can see that there could be people who are Vedagnya, but then not Arthagnya. Now, Arthagnya, again, I mean, this again, Maharaj was saying, this relates to this verse. Krishna talks about fools deride me when I come in the human form. What's that? Avijananti mama muda manushim dhanamashritam. So that comes in the 10th chapter. So in this way, whatever we experience, whoever we see, we can always find a reference to that in the Bhagavad Gita. It is already mentioned by Krishna. So just that we just need to connect those dots and then understand the perspective. And now, and then Maharaj was also saying, it is not even right to say that Krishna was a very pious man. There are two mistakes there. Pious is a mistake and man is a mistake, because Krishna is not a man. He is the super soul. And then piety, pious, these things don't apply to Krishna at all. Pious or impious, either way, we are making an aparad, or we are concluding wrongly by calling Krishna like that, because he's beyond all this. So this way, Maharaj was bringing out the aspect of how Arthagnya is so different from Vedagnya. And the one who understands the position of Krishna, that is there in that the verse that we mentioned earlier, which is Vedaisya Sarvair Ahameva Vedyo Vedantakrit Vedavid Eva Chaham. So that's the end goal. I mean, in fact, even if you look at the people who say they know the Vedas, or who have studied Vedas to some extent and then concluded differently, and then they say, okay, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and then not even that moksha aspect gets discussed, or too much of prominence or importance is given to the Dharma, I mean Artha and Kama, which is not a very good thing, because one has not understood the purpose of the Vedas completely. And then even promotion to higher planets is something that Arthagnya will not be very comfortable with. He will denounce it. Okay. Then, so this way, if we are looking at the person, okay, then the one who understands the purpose of the Vedas is higher, we saw. And then if you look at the next verse, it says, better than the person who knows the purpose of the Vedas is somebody who can dissipate the doubts of other individuals. So now the person who can dissipate the doubt means then that person is having some amount of proficiency in the Vedas. He has studied and he remembers, and he can quote or he can connect relevantly. He can speak according to time, place, and circumstances, taking references from the Shastras or the Vedas. So naturally, the position of such a person is higher than somebody who has understood the purpose. So there could be a situation where the person has understood, but he is not able to communicate. Because communication also is a skill. It is a skill that is given by the Lord through Saraswati Mata, you can say. Sorry. So a person who is able to do that is at a higher position. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that he was telling one of his disciples that it is not necessary just enough that you know the purpose of the Vedas. You should also be able to explain it to others. So that person becomes higher. So now the person who can explain the Vedas, who has understood, see, who knows the Vedas, who has understood the purpose of the Vedas, and then who has understood the purpose and is able to explain it to others. So this person becomes higher. Now, higher than that is one more thing. What is that? Higher than the person who can explain it nicely to others that is just flowery talk. That's he has got the gift of speech, and then he can talk very nicely, and then he can be right in the conclusions and all of that. But he may not be following it. So the person who is walking the talk, who is an acharya, who is applying the knowledge, okay, one who executes devotional service, who's applying the purpose of the Veda, he is at a higher position than all of the rest of the people. So like this, the different grades are being explained within a Brahmana, within a person who knows Vedas, and then within the person who knows the purpose of Vedas, and then from the purpose of Vedas to one who can explain the Vedas, and then from there on to the one who actually not only explains but also follows, who's an acharya. So most of us are being trained to be acharyas. I mean, even if we don't have the other skills. So that's how we should understand these various gradations. So these become very important. In fact, Vedas are available everywhere. I mean, people talk, even Lord Brahma, actually Lord Indra and the demon, Virochana. He was the king of the Asuras, Virochana, and Indra is the king of the Suras. Both of them, they are actually cousins in one way. One is the son of Diti, the other one is the son of Aditi. So they both have the same father. So they went to Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma, they wanted to understand the what's that? Athato Brahma Jignasa, or they wanted to understand Adhyatmika. So they wanted to know what is Atma and all of that. So they went to Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma begins, and then he said by saying that Atma means the body, which is true because we should know, we all know that Atma generally is referred to as the body, or as even the mind, or as the consciousness, or as the soul, or even as the super soul. Sometimes, when they say Atma, then we are referring to the super soul, sometimes to the soul, sometimes to just the body. So, like this, see, Atmahatya, Atmaha, Atmahatya. So there, the reference is to the body, because we know that Atma cannot be killed. So where is this Atmaha or Atmahatya is coming? So it refers to the body then. So like that. So the reference can be to any of these: the body, the mind, the consciousness, or the soul, or even the super soul. So now this is at the background. But then Lord Brahma is started off by saying that Atma means the body. So you have to look after the body. He's telling both of them. Who? He's telling Lord Indra and this Virochana, who's the head of the demons. So he is saying that you have to take care of your body and then use this body vehicle for satisfying your senses, and then live your life in a proper something, whatever. He's just giving some basic jnana. He's starting off like that. The moment this Virochana is hearing this, he becomes very happy. Yes, I know. See, you're right. And then he says, Brahma, you're very intelligent. Yes, Atma means the body only. And then he very quickly concludes. And then he says, thank you so much for enlightening me on this. I know I'll have to take care of my body, which I will do. And I know I'll have to use it for satisfying my senses. So which is what I will do. And then he pays obeisances and then he walks away. So he becomes very happy. So there Maharaj was saying how an individual will listen to what he or she wants to listen, and that's it. They don't want to go beyond, because they are influenced by the modes of material nature, the passion and ignorance in this case. Whereas Indra also is passionate. He also wants to enjoy. But still, there is some amount of sattva guna in him. He realizes there is something more to it. At least knowledge-wise, he realizes that there is more to it. So he waits patiently, and then he hears the rest of the things. So in this way, we can understand by these examples of how people will just hear what they want to hear. So, but then patience is a virtue. So being a little bit more patient, Indradev was able to hear more, or hear the actual truth in a little more better way, and not conclude. By not being conclusive or being judgmental too early, he waited it out, so he got more jnana, rather than Virochana, who was too impatient. His mind was too much in passion. So he just heard, and then, yes, and then he concluded, and he was very happy with Lord Brahma, and then he went away. So like this, we should understand that how if we are not fit to hear certain things, we will never hear it. Because when we are saying we are not fit to hear, that means we are under the mode of influence of material nature, especially passion and ignorance. So that is why we say you come to the mode of ignorance. In the mode of ignorance, what happens? We are not having the qualification, we are not fit, but at least we have some qualities like patience and not being judgmental and all, and that will carry us forward. So that is why a person in the mode of goodness is better than a person in the mode of passion or in the mode of ignorance. So this again, there is gradation. So understanding these gradations, analyzing them is very important. And if we are able to get that whole spectrum right, that the entire bandwidth of all the various gradations that are there, then we realize that it is just that the extent of covering that is there. Like I said before, extent of covering, because of that, certain qualities are manifested in an individual, and otherwise the individual soul is, they are also like me. And then, so that's the ability to see me. Means to see the the supreme, the super soul in other living entities. That comes, and that is what is mentioned in verse 33, where he says that I don't find a greater person. So I do not find a greater person than he who has no interest outside of Krishna and engages and dedicates all his life and everything into me without cessation. So, because he is seeing the Lord, the Supreme Lord in all the living entities, and thereby he will continue to do what he is doing, that is devotional service, but without any ulterior interest or material interest. So he has no interest outside of Krishna. That means there is no material interest. What is outside of Krishna means material world, Maya. So there is no such interest, or even the Maya world also he sees it as energy of the Lord. So he sees nothing outside of Krishna. So that is the level of realization that an individual will have, and then engage and dedicate all his life, everything unto me without cessation. That means without stopping. That is ahaituki and apratihata. Ahaituki is no desires, and apratihata is continuous. So you see, everywhere it all aligns to that same thing. Nothing more is being said, but the same thing is being said in different ways, so that we are able to digest and understand. And we keep digesting and understanding, and we get a little bit more. We are all like the Virochanas. Each time we come and listen, we conclude a little bit more than what we concluded the previous day. And then we move on, and then thereby try to elevate ourselves step by step. So this gradual process becomes very important. And this gradual process is what is being, the importance are being highlighted here. And that gradual process, if it is highlighted, it means that anybody can elevate himself or herself to the topmost position. It might take some time, but that's all right. So that's how the material world is, because we are in this material world, we are affected by the material modes of nature, and our pravritti or our disposition is such that we will resist a change. We will not be able to give up certain things so easily. So we are conditioned to that. So that is why step by step changes are recommended. And understanding these steps will help us to reach the destination far faster, or at least it will open up our relationship with Krishna. We'll understand how much Karunamayi he is. So he takes care of everybody so wonderfully, even though they don't like him, even though they hate him. We might wonder, no, sometimes, why is the Lord so kind to them also? But they don't like him. No, that's only because the covering is so much. So the Lord has that view, but we don't have it because we are contaminated. So we'll have to become like the Lord, means qualitatively like the Lord, not quantitatively. So in that case, then we will also develop the same thoughts with respect to others. So we'll also become like a Supruda. We'll also become a well-wisher of other people, and then want to help them. And preaching mission is all about that. It is about wanting to help another person come out of the contamination that he or she is in. So in this way, he says that in the next verse, he says, such a perfect devotee offers respect to every living entity, and he is under the firm conviction that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has entered the body of every living entity as super soul. So this conviction and realization will come only by carrying out devotional service, even if it is in the Mishra stage. That is sadhana bhakti. So keep doing, and then seeing our effort, the Lord gives us the mercy, and thereby we'll beginning like how there is fog, and then not fog, so it's cloudy, and then there is a little bit of clearing, and then the sun comes through, and then everything is illuminated for some time. Then again the cloud covers, then again a little more. So like that. And because of the action of the sun, the cloud gets dispersed finally, and then the sun is able to shine through more continuously. So in this way, we will have to do devotional service to get to this understanding. Whatever Lord Kapila is saying, for us to, now we are hearing it, we are understanding it. For us to realize it, we will need the mercy of the Lord. And then he says, and we can attract the mercy of Lord by doing devotional service, by carrying out sadhana with the end goal in mind. Okay, then he says, dear mother, a devotee who applies the science of devotional service and mystic yoga. So this is how he's getting these two together, where he's talking about the science of devotional service. What is the science of devotional service? That is to do devotional service even if we are not doing it in a proper way, if it is not pure also, but do by sadhana bhakti, by listening to the seniors, listening to the guru, listening to the sadhu, and then just carrying out the motions. We might find no joy. It's not like tears are flowing through when we are doing arati or when we are chanting. No, because our mind is full of contamination. But we still do it, and slowly the purification starts. Okay, so that is the science of devotional service. And then the mystic yoga system. The mystic yoga system is again understanding these various gradations, the various 8.4 species, the sense of touch, smell, all that. No? The Sankhya, the 24 elements, and how they are all present, and then how each one, there is a gradation, each one is above the other, and then come on to the stage of human beings. And then in human beings, we are 400,000 types of human beings. So where are these 400,000 types of human beings coming from? These are all coming because of the character of each one of them, the qualities that they have, or the amount of gunas or the combinations which are there, in what matra or in what constitution it is all mixed up, sattva, rajo, tamo. So you have myriad personalities. So that's how the 400,000 comes. And then understanding them, among them the best is Brahmana, and then among the Brahmanas then who's best, and so on and so forth. So there's so many steps to cover, and these steps are good for us because we will be able to take one step at a time and then make that progress. But otherwise, it's difficult for us to just leave everything and then make one big leap. That's not possible, and that's not recommended. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said the same thing. He said, Sthane sthita shruti gata tanuvak manobhe. That's the verse that comes in Shrimad Bhagavatam, where he says that which is the best way for a person to attain liberation. So Ramanand Rai was talking about many things, Varnashrama, this, that. He said, all that is good, but tell me something better. And finally, when he quotes the shloka, he says, yes, that's the best way. What is that way? That way is the way of doing devotional service without upsetting yourself, without coming out of the situation where you are in. So, sthane sthita shruti gata tanu vak manobhe. So, using your tanu, that is body, vak, speech, and mind, engaging those in Krishna while you continue to do what you're doing in material life. That is what the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said is the best way. So, thereby, our progress happens step by step and then come to the end destination. So this way, if we are able to understand this particular gradation that Kapila Muni is talking about, then we will be able to, we'll be able to comprehend the world around us in a better way. We'll be able to see people as they are rather than see through my materialistic eyes, or through my me, I am this body, and then identifying myself that way, and then seeing others with respect to my body. No, seeing others with respect to me as an atma or a soul, and they as atmas again, as super souls, but covered by a certain body because of their nature. That will help us to be friendly to them. And then once we are friendly, then the Lord becomes very pleased with us. Because if we are friendly, then we'll want to have the best, we want to give them the best. So that is what they say. Even the enemy, you give him Krishna consciousness. That's the best thing that you can do. Because the enemy or friend is a very materialistic viewpoint. It's very relative. So he's my enemy because he did something to me. But then everybody is doing to each other something or the other. I am also doing something to someone else because of the karma. We are just delivering others' karmas. So that way others are delivering my karma to me. And having this view will help us to soften this qualities of envy, anger, jealousy, and all those negative emotions. Arshad, Vargas, they disappear completely, or they become minimized. And then we begin to see, and that pleases the Lord. That's more important. And because we are able to see things as they are. And then His mercy comes, and thereby then we become elevated. We start progressing. So this is the wonderful connection that Lord Kapila is giving with respect to the science of devotional service as well as the science of mystic yoga, and then saying how we need to connect this, and thereby establishing the position of bhakti seva as the topmost. And what type of bhakti seva? That is unadulterated, ahaituki and apratihata. So now, even if you look at the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we've got 2 minutes, I can discover that, where Krishna is talking. I mean, if you, the whole 12th chapter we know is about devotional service. But in that, if you look at the 8th verse, what does it say? It says, Mai eva mana adhatsva, mai buddhim niveshaya, nivasishyasi mai eva, atha urdhvam na samshayaha. So he says, just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without any doubt. So he's giving an assurance. But then what happens? This is the highest stage. Just fix your mind upon, and he says, just fix your mind. So fixing the mind is the most important thing. It is not just fixing the mind. So, and then engage all your intelligence in me. No, our intelligence is engaged in material things. Our intelligence is engaged in how I outdo somebody, how I earn more, how I do this, that. So we have all got it all mixed up. So, but then he says, do that. But then the next he says, my dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, in the next shloka he says, that is, atachittam samadhatum na saknosi mai sthiram. Abhyasa yogena tatho mam ichhaptum dhananjaya. So what he means is, my dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, that is Dhananjaya, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. So if you can't do that, then at least do the regulative principles. So this is that link which talks about, or which kind of harmonizes whatever we saw now. Like which says that, okay, I don't have pure devotional service, I can't do, but then to do that, I'll have to do devotional service, even if it is contaminated. That's the whole point. Just follow the regulative principles and then keep doing what you have to do. Thereby, you will develop a desire to attain me. And when the desire to attain me is developed, that is, to attain Krishna is developed, then material things become very, very small or unimportant or undesirous. They lose the charm. Like Dhruva Maharaj said, no, pieces of glass they become. After he sees the Lord, first it was diamonds for him, a position bigger than my father or my father's father, blah, 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 like a small kid, So he had those things in his mind, and this is what he wanted to achieve. Then later on, when he has the darshan of the Lord, he suddenly feels, whatever I was thinking, that is like broken pieces of glass, and I was going behind that. Whereas you are the real diamond, you are the jewel. So suddenly that becomes pale, and Krishna becomes the most prized possession to have or to cultivate, rather than other things. So all other positions turn pale. So this is the change that will happen. So if we develop a desire to attain him. And then Bhakti Yoga is actually a purification of the senses, but in stages. At the present moment in material existence, the senses are always impure, being engaged in sense gratification. But by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, these senses can become purified, and in the purified stage, they become directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. In this material existence, I may be engaged in some service to some master, but I don't really lovingly serve my master. I simply serve to get some money. So there also it is contaminated. And the master also is not in love. He takes some service for me and pays me. So there is no question of love in the material world. But for spiritual life, one must be elevated to pure stage of love. That stage of love can be achieved by practice of devotional service performed with the present senses. So back to square one. So to reach the destination, the path is also the same. That's very nicely, it comes out in any of the scriptures that you refer to, be it the Bhagavad Gita, the 12th chapter, what Kapil Dev is saying, or any of our acharyas, what they are saying, what Prabhupada said, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. Everywhere it aligns. So on this note, I'll stop here. It's exactly 10:30. So I know it was very theoretical, but that's the best that I could do. I hope it was. Actually, I found these very amazing, and I learned so much here, and I'm sure all of you also learned something today. So Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Please go ahead. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice session. And you ended it with a very practical and perfect advice. How we can see everyone as a soul, and whatever is happening with us, why it's happening, that is also a new perspective. So thank you so much, Prabhu. Hari Bol. Suma Mataji will ask question, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Pranams.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, in today's class, we learned that we should not be envious or anybody who trouble us, or also we should, on the mental platform, we should pray for them and ask for the strength from the Lord, how to deal with them. So, Prabhuji, on the bodily level or on the physical level, like in our daily life, how should we deal with them, Prabhuji?
Mataji, nice question, very relevant question. So how to deal with them? At the first instance, it looks very appalling because we are not able to come to terms. But if you look at what Lord Kapila is saying, and then try to think a little calmly, like I did mention this before, where he says that if we develop this ability to see me, that is what Lord Kapila is telling his mother, see me as super soul present in other living entities. So that's the first start, because it might be very difficult for us to accept the fact that they are also like me, but at least see the Lord in them, no? Because now we are all aligned to the Lord. We all have faith in the Lord, the supremacy, and then the omnipotency. So the moment there is Lord, then we become very respectful. If there's a small photo, suddenly we'll get up, or we will not sit by the side, or at least we will take it and keep it that side. So we are developing this tendency of awe and respect for the Lord, which is good, because we just have to take it one step further. Even the photo itself, we are now conscious of the Lord. We don't stretch our leg in front of a photo. We don't show the back if there is a DT or an altar room. All this we are doing, not that we are not doing. But then extend it a little further. What is that extension? The super soul is present in other individuals. So we may not like that individual, or it's difficult to make that connection, but at least make this connection that the super soul is there, because we know this theory. How super soul is with me is there in that other person also. So respect that super soul. So at least stop being angry with that person, or shout at them, or ill-treat that person. So because there is a presence of the super soul in that individual. So when the presence of the super soul is realized, or at least understood, or it comes to our mind and then realized, if it is realized, then we will do what we have to do, which means that we will accommodate that person. But we have not realized, but at least we'll know, okay, let me respect him anyway. It's okay, he did something, but let me respect him because the super soul is in him. The body is the temple, because the Lord is residing there, all of that. No. So then how can we plan to create some harm to that body? It is like going and breaking a temple wall. Will we go and do that? We will not do that. Then why break or cause harm to a body where the soul is there, or the super soul is there? Sorry, not the soul, the super soul is there. So realizing this, and this is what Kapil Dev is saying today, at least in these verses. So I would just answer in this way, saying that let's try to realize the presence of super soul. and try to remember that whenever we are angry with others. So for that, we'll have to ask for His mercy. I don't know if I answered your question, but that will
Hare
definitely
Krishna,
help in
Prabhuji.
looking at it.
Prabhuji, we should not have any complaints on them, or assume that they are troubling us. But when we know that, when we really, Hare Krishna, when we really know that we are troubled by them in some way or the other, so how can we deal with that, Prabhuji? Should we give up in the hands of Krishna, or Prabhuji, you're on mute, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. I'm sorry.
So Mataji, I understood your question, but there is a small gap in the way when you're expressing. You said we should not be, what did you say? We should not, we should accept
Assume
troubles.
like they are doing something bad for us. But when we are
No,
confirmed that
but we are not saying bear it or forget all of that. If somebody is being bad to us, there are two ways of reacting. One is, I'm not saying we should quietly bear it. Maybe we should, but I'm not even talking about that. Maybe you need to confront it or talk about it. But there is a way to talk about it. And that talking about it can be with respect. Do you understand this? Let us say something very terrible happened to you because of another individual. We understand all this, but you're not able to come to terms. It is troubling you. So, but then we can approach that individual through a senior or whatever it is in a respectful way, not in a disrespectful way. But why we will do that? When we understand that that person also, there is a super soul in that living entity. So at least we are better off than how we would be otherwise. You get, there are more steps here. We are not saying, oh, tolerate him, oh, do this. That is very difficult actually. Oh, if he slaps you in one cheek, you show the other cheek. We may not be in that position. But at least we can ask him, sir, you slapped me. Looks like you are very upset with me. Can you tell me what did I do wrong which made you do that? Something, have a conversation. Try to come to terms with it rather than get angry. Oh, you slapped me, I'll also give you one slap. You understand? Between the two extremes, that is, you slap me, I'll slap you too. Oh, you slap me, it's okay, slap me on the other cheek. Between these two, there's another way we can approach, which is mediation or talking or respecting that person and then having conversation and trying to understand. Our Vaishnavism is that only, no? That is what we say, no? Ishta Goshtis are there for that only. So where we can start is by saying that, okay, something has happened which should not have happened. Let me try to understand that. That's the premise we are talking about. We are not talking about becoming envious or chastising them or developing a negative attitude towards them, but try to understand why it happened. So that all can happen only when we realize there is Paramatma in him. So we'll give some respect to that person. Okay, he did that, you shouldn't have done, but let me see. So we are not talking about tolerance to that level, which you just concluded now when you asked this question. We are saying, don't offend them. I hope it makes sense.
Yes, Prabhuji. But when we have made a distance from them, I'm very sorry, Prabhuji, to be asking like this. When we have made a distance for our spiritual growth and for the protection of that, for our soul, for our own sake, when we have made the distance from them, but we still know that in no way we don't want to communicate with them. So that just to be not disrespecting them, just to protect us. So in that case, Prabhuji, so I just wanted to know that should we leave it in the hands of Krishna or should we also do, like in the one of the purports, Prabhupada says that you do your 50%, God will do the 50%. So I'm
our
not able to understand.
50% is in leaving the situation like that. But if it is going to affect you, your sadhana is being affected because you're always thinking about it. See, we would have left it physically and come, but in our mind, it will be playing so much. So sometimes we will not be able to come to terms with it. It will affect our chanting, it will affect our other things. We are always bogged down by that person. His influence on the mind is so much. We are always thinking of him or her because, oh, why did he do that? Even though we have left it physically, we know we have to move on. All that we'll say, but in the mind, it is occupying too much space. In which case, then you'll have to confront it because it is affecting your sadhana. So then you have to do the 50%. That means that talk to others, talk to the senior, talk to some common friend, try to find out, or directly, if you feel it is okay, directly go and then ask and solve that problem. See, keeping that problem, ignoring it, and then walking away is one thing, but that's not the best solution. The better solution is to solve it and come to terms, so that then you kind of erase what is written and then start afresh. So you again begin. So that is better, no? In all relationships, that is what is better, no? Because if you ignore and then distance yourself, it will bottle up. So it'll be bottling up within you. So one today, one tomorrow, one, then suddenly you'll realize you are actually undergoing a change. It is affecting you so much. Before you realize you would be a changed individual, because you'll begin to see everyone like that. So that's the nature. I'm not saying it's a fault with you. It's with all of us. That's our nature. So we will have to take that step of trying to resolve it. Whether it gets resolved or not, whether you come out with it didn't work out, that's okay. There you don't have to be bothered about the end. Karmanevadikaraste. There Prabhupada said 50% you do, the other 50 leave it to Lord. So all that we have to do, we have to practice. All those principles are there, but we have to put that effort. But when we put the effort, we can do that only by realizing that that person also, there is Paramatma in him or her. So let me respect him and then have a conversation, a neutral conversation, without becoming too emotional. Like Draupadi, after having lost all her children, how she behaved with Ashwatthama. Even though she was angry at first, then she reasoned herself out and then she said, Ashwatthama's mother, let another mother not go through the pain that I have gone through. And then thereby, I think let's forgive him. And then she gives other reasons why we should forgive him, even though he committed a heinous mistake. She cannot forgive. But then she confronted it. She came to terms with herself. That is the biggest loss for anybody. And that also she came to terms. Other losses are like nothing when compared to this. So we should also try in that way and then try to respect that. Respect in the sense, not say, oh, get up when he comes or not. Respect him as an individual. Respect him as a person where the Paramatma is residing. That's a start. And then have conversations to take it forward. I'm just
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Pranams.
Thank you so much.
Prabhuji, in addition to that, can I ask you something, Prabhuji? In addition to this Suma
Yeah,
Mataji's
Padma Mataji,
questions?
yeah, you can ask Mataji, but first Sarika Mataji will ask and then you can ask.
Yeah, okay, no
Yeah,
problem.
please. Yeah, Sarika Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, very nice class. Thank you so much. Prabhuji, I have a question and an insight that I had during the class. We have, in the last few verses, we've been reading about the gradation of the humans, the Jivatmas in the human form, and the gradation of the devotional service, that is the devotees, the Karma Mishra Bhakti. So now if we look around us, so many people are following different faiths. And as per Krishna's directive, unless the devotee comes in the pure devotional form path, the devotee cannot upgrade to Vaikuntha. Yes, they might get liberated and be in the Brahma Jyoti stage, but they will not be able to elevate higher. So now all the people who are following different faiths might be impersonalists or maybe even lower in their understanding of God. They are not following the Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan process. So as they elevate, they will be born as per their gradation. They will be born in different places. So maybe that is why a lot of people are being born in India, because they get more chance to get an opportunity to learn Sanatan Dharma and elevate themselves. So maybe the population of India is high because from all those developed countries, after following their different faiths and experiencing material nature, they fall on Bharat Bhumi. Then I was thinking that Srila Prabhupada's mission has now probably is the only constructive way of population control in India, because now, because of Srila Prabhupada's mission, we have Sanatan Dharma being followed in all parts of the world. So these Jivatmas need not only take birth in India, now they can take birth in any part of the world if they are going up this gradation paths to reach Vaikuntha or Golok Dham.
Yeah. So it is like, yeah, you are right. though it is speculative, there is no strength of the scriptures if you're just looking at it, but still it makes a lot of sense. It is like earlier there was only one window for clearance, now you have multiple windows for clearance. So the queue moves faster. So which is good and which is nice. So whether it controls population in one place or not, but at least it opens up vistas for people to approach and then elevate themselves. Sthane sthita shruti gatam. So wherever they are, rather than take another birth, come to India and then go through that process. So whichever way you look at it, it is something that is wonderful that has happened. Prabhupada taking Sanatan Dharma across the world. That's the best thing that can happen to the world. So in one way, I will agree to what you're saying, though it may not exactly be like that, or it could be like that. So I can neither deny nor agree to it. So it's a view that you have, which sounds good and sattvic. So that's a nice realization. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
But my view is that many windows instead of one window, and not through India only you have to go. It can happen other places also. So more merciful. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is more merciful because he carried the mood of Radharani. So Gaur-Nithai, they are so merciful. They ignore all the faults and then they want to give liberation. So why only to in India? Then you come to India, I'll do all this. No, they are going there and then they are giving. So wherever you better. Thank you.
Yeah, Padma Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. This is in connection with the question Suma Mataji asked. Now, supposing the other devotee has hurt you through his behavior or whatever, and then if you go to go for clarification, and if that person behaves as if nothing has happened, although it has some grudge against you in the mind, but pretends not to have done anything, and say, oh, so what happened? Nothing has happened. Why are you getting bothered? Why are you feeling hurt? What happened? You tell me what happened. And don't want to accept. Then what do you do in that circumstances?
It is not about convincing the person. It is about opening your heart and saying. You can just say that it hurt me. Maybe it's very stupid of me to think like that, but then this happened. So I'm just presenting it. That's all. Neither expecting an apology, nor an concurrence, nor a denial, nor the so-called solution to this. No, it's just that you brought it out and then you expressed it and then you move on in your life. That's it. Why should it be that, oh, he has to accept what I said? You're trying to prove that person that you did this to me. Thereby you think, somewhere in the background, we think that we are better off than that person because this happened and then I won that particular argument. So this is all materialistic again. But then the very fact that we can stop the conversation by saying, see, that was very nice, but I know it was not the intention. But then, that thing I ended up thinking like this, what to do, me being a materialistic person, my mind went like that. So, and it affected me. I thought I should just bring it up to your notice. So you were the deliverer of my karma also in one sense. But so like that, if we have a conversation in a sattvic way, the other person also will develop that same view. So he will not confront it. If we have it in a passionate way, the conversation by trying to prove a certain point, then the whole conversation tone becomes different. Then. So mode of goodness is very important for us.
No, Prabhuji, but if you no, Prabhuji, even in a good way, if you go to ask, and if that person is an egoistic, if that person replies in a different way, that will hurt you more.
It might hurt
as if nothing has happened.
No, it might hurt at that point because he saw it in that way. But then I'm sure good sense will prevail over a period of time. He will also realize, oh, sure, this person came and why did I do this? And then maybe then after 2 days, he himself might come back and then say, maybe what you said is right. Or he might reciprocate or try to be a little shameful. So he might smile, which he was not doing before. Or he might say Hare Krishna. So there will be a change, Mataji. For sure. Yeah. The only thing is we have to be patient and then we can't conclude quickly. Oh, I said, but he didn't respond. No, it's like taking a tablet and then expecting a cure. No, we have to go through that course. After 10 days only, then the final cure will happen. No? Something like that.
Yeah.
So patience again is a virtue. Patience again is Sattvagun. Judgmental is again Sattvagun. So I am a great advocate of this Sattvagun because we need to cultivate that for harmonizing our Bhakti Seva.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, last question. Krishnamurti Prabhu.
ಹರೇ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಪ್ರಭುಜಿ, ಪ್ರಣಾಮ ಪ್ರಭುಜಿ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.
ಪ್ರಭುಜಿ, ನಾನು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ನೀವು ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅದನ್ನ. ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇಷ್ಟೇ, ಈಗ ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ನಾವು ದ್ವೇಷಿಸ್ತೀವಿ, ದ್ವೇಷ ಅದು ಎನ್ವಿಯಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಅವರ ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್, ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಬೇರೆ ಯಾವುದೋ ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಕೋಆರ್ಡಿನೇಷನ್ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಕೋಆರ್ಡಿನೇಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇದ್ದಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದೊಳಗೆ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಪ್ಯಾಚಪ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೂ ಆ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸು ಬರಬಾರ್ದು, ಎನ್ವಿಯಸ್ಸು ಇರಬಾರ್ದು, ಆ ಥರ ಜೀವನ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಯಾಕೆಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಒಂದು ಆಫೀಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಆ ಸಂದರ್ಭದೊಳಗೆ ತಾವು ವಿಚಾರ ತಿಳಿಸಿದಂಗೆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬ ಮನುಷ್ಯನ ಹೃದಯದಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಭಗವಂತ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ. ಆ ಥರ ಭಾವನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವಿದ್ರೆ ಇದರಿಂದ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯವಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ. ಸೊ ಈಗ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಇನ್ನು ಯಾವ ಥರ ಅಂದರೆ, ಈಗ ಆ ಮೋಡ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಸದಾ ನಾವು ಎಜುಕೇಟ್ ಯಾವ ಥರ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಕಲ್ಟಿವೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಲೈಫಲ್ಲಿ ಅನ್ನೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ನನಗೆ.
See, how do we practically apply this? That is what Prabhu was asking, because we said that we have some ill will to others, and we also know that there is Paramatma. So how do I practice it? How do I put it in practice practically? So here it will depend on the individual. It will depend on us. It will depend on, there are many ways of doing it. But one point that comes to my mind is, like, we can, what do you say, practice to ourselves. We can preach to ourselves. So we are the best preachers for ourselves, they say. So it's not like we'll go and tell that person, you know, there is super soul in me also, you should respect me. No, not like that. It is not for the others to follow. It is for me to follow. I see super soul in others, so let me respect that person. The other thing, whether it happens or not, that is secondary. So this is the first start. So from there we will have to go. Everything is applicable to me, not to others. All this adhyatmika, this learning, everything is for me to implement, not for the others to implement. So like, say we talk about Vaishnava Aparad. Oh, Vaishnava Aparad we spread. So I hope all the others they have learned, so they will not do any Aparad to me. No, that's not the view. That's a very immature view. It is for me to imbibe so that I will not offend others. That is the view we take. No, everywhere we take that view only. Here also it is the same thing. We take that view that super soul is there in them. Let me start. It is difficult to get that thought, but that's the sadhana. That is that abhyasa. Even in Bhagavad Gita, in the 12th chapter, he said, do devotional service, practice it. No, so likewise, practice these things because it pleases Krishna. So you're actually doing devotional service. You're trying to please Krishna because, or Lord Kapila here, because he says, I become very happy if they are able to see me in the other living entities. So there's a very direct statement that is there in the Bhagavatam. So take that as a statement and then say, by remembering this, I'm pleasing Krishna. That other person, whether he is pleased or not, it doesn't matter. We are not in that level still. But I'm pleasing Krishna. So certainly everywhere our link is with Krishna only. So we'll have to keep that going. And cultivate and beg for him to give us the strength, the stamina, the conviction, and the faith that, yes, I will do this. I will continue to do this. Even if there are, if the others are not responding in that way that I expect them to respond. I hope I answered your question, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I got it. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, there is one question in chat. Sarika Mataji is asking about the reference for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's verse, which you mentioned regarding the best way to do devotional service.
That's in the 10th canto of Shrimad Bhagavatam. Sthane sthita shruti-gatam tanuvat manobhet. Do you know, Mataji? I mean, that's Prabhupada quotes this many times. So we can just Google and it will come up. I know. I'm not able to recall that verse. 10.35 something. I'm not able to recall that.
Oh, Prabhu, you can share it with me. I will share it in the group.
Oh, okay. I'll do it. I'll just check that and then I'll. Okay. I have just quoted one line of that 4-line shloka. In the purport. If you read that, then the whole thing is clear there.
Okay.
So the Bhagavatam verse I will quote, and that the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted that comes in the past time. So we know that.
Yeah.
So I'll give that reference. Okay.
Sure, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So we'll end the class here.
Yeah.
Vancha kalpitarubhyascha
Panchakalpadurubhyascha kriptasimhavyayeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Vaishnavita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Lord Kapila ki jai. Hare
Ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone. Hare Krishna.